Mums and dads, wherever you're listening to us around Australia, as Judge Judy would say, listen up. In the scheme of this crazy modern world, is there anything that worries parents and hopefully their children more than this? We're talking about music festivals, drugs, pills and everything associated with them. Whether we like it or whether we don't, and I'm about to tell you your son or daughter may well be involved in this. Whether we like it or whether we don't, kids are dying at these music festivals and parents are left devastated. Only a couple of weeks ago, there was a Splendour in the Grass music festival at Byron Bay. Some splendour. Police say the drug availability was alarming. One Queensland man tried smuggling 220 ecstasy pills into the festival. More than 100 police confiscated more than 3 kilos of drugs during the Splendour in the Grass festival. That's called a record, some record. Obviously, the message about drugs and death and music festivals is falling on deaf ears. Only this week we heard that an investigation by Sydney's Daily Telegraph found that 29 out of 30 drug tests in the New South Wales snowfields detected illicit substances at 14 licensed venues. This in one weekend. Rampant, it was described, rampant cocaine use in night spots in Thredbo and Jindabyne. And these drug tests followed the seizure last month, cop this, of 384 kilograms of cocaine worth more than $144 million, and this stuff allegedly bound for the snowfields. Well, from the snowfields to the beaches. You couldn't make this stuff up. Parents, with respect, you've got a job on your hands. And the young ones around here tell me that these are not music festivals. These are drug festivals. The sideline is music. Young people take these pills, plural. They're filled with unknown components. You can't actually test them. And anyway, both of us here are opposed to pill testing. A lot of this stuff's made in someone's backyard with God knows what. Then the kids are filled up with grog and you've got a recipe for death. Currently, there's a coronial inquest in New South Wales into the deaths of 6 people from suspected drug overdoses at music festivals. With that as background, listen to this. The beautiful beachside community of Coolangatta on the southern end of the Gold Coast is being told, I repeat, told, by the Gold Coast City Council and Events Queensland that their pristine public beach and park spaces will be taken over to host one of these music festivals. It's going to be called SandTunes, a 2-day thing, November 30 and December 1, with an American rapper, Travis Scott. How many tickets will be sold? Try 35,000 for each day. And this is planned for each of the next 5 years. The target audience, 18 to 29-year-olds. Both days will start at midday, finish at 9 o'clock, no pass-outs. So once you're in the joint, that's it. Alcohol on the beach in the full heat of December, no shade, on the sand and unstable service, drugs. How can organisers guarantee there won't be drugs after what we've seen in the past? Think Byron Bay's recent Splendour in the Grass. This Coolangatta fiasco will be held along the whole stretch of the beach, from Kirra all the way down to Greenmount. And these beaches are part of the World Surfing Reserve. The sand dunes and other environmental features will be impacted. The police don't know what to do. They don't know about it. They weren't consulted about it. Police barely have enough resources to cope with schoolies, let alone another music festival on at the same time further down the coast. But a global entertainment company, TEG Dainty, is going to invade the public beaches and park spaces. They'll dislocate the town for a total of 21 days. There'll be fences erected, streets will be shut off, roads will be closed, performing stages will be built on the sand right next to the water. When I heard this, I thought someone was making it up. These are public spaces for families to enjoy their summer school holidays. Some have already booked to holiday in the area. God knows what will happen to them. Others have already made arrangements for their marriage. Presumably, they've all been torpedoed. And here's a further rub. Residents and businesses of the Coolangatta area were not consulted once. This has been forced upon them by the Gold Coast City Council and Events Queensland, the Queensland Government. Southern Gold Coast residents and businesses are writing to me saying they've been hoodwinked. This is a community which is still feeling the crunch after the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games disaster, where local businesses were left with nothing. Obviously, these businesses have no interest in allowing some pill-popping music festival into their community. nor do they want to shut the place down for it. And of course, as with all these things, someone plucks out a random figure and say, oh, SandTunes will bring an economic benefit of $10 million. Who says? And this is the kind of humbug which is making local businesses furious. They know that the young ones who attend these music festivals go to the bottle shops and fill up on grog. For local businesses, there is no business. But the same businesses pay their taxes, pay their rates, employ people, and then this is dumped on them with no consultation. No resident, I repeat, or business or owner was consulted about this music festival on Coolangatta and Greenmount Beach. Apparently, this is Democracy 2019. The Gold Coast Council and Events Queensland have some explaining to do. Offloading clean and pristine beaches and parks which attract families and vibrancy to the area during school holidays to an international entertainment group, TEG Dainty, to lock out the local community and allow this hideous music festival stuff to invade them. Gold Coast Mayor Tom Tate, Tourism Minister in Queensland Kate Jones, where are you? This is apparently your gig. Run over the locals. Well, the local member is a woman by the name of Jann Stukey, the member for Currumbin. This woman should be the leader of the opposition in Queensland. She does her homework. She talks for her people. She's won 6 elections. She knows her stuff. She's articulate, well-informed, totally in touch, the kind of local member you think you'd want, but no one has spoken to her. I went there a couple of years ago to Opera on the Beach. It was magnificent. Opera Australia. This pill stuff with music festivals is no Opera on the Beach. Jann joins us from our studio in the Gold Coast. Jann Stukey, good evening. Thank you for your time. Well, what the hell is going on?
Well, I think you've summed it up pretty well, that the locals here feel like they have been ambushed, and so do our small businesses who are still suffering. Some of them say they have not recovered from the loss of business during the games. And let's remember, that was a very low alcohol consumption event. Of course, Opera on the Beach was a very contained and very well-structured event. And to find out that we've actually been treated as guinea pigs by having the first Sand Under Your Toes event for 35,000 people each day over 2 days is something that's making a number of us physically sick.
But this is for 5 years, Jann.
It was signed up for 5. It was signed up for 5 years. We're not quite sure, though, because it was approved in 2017, whether that counts as 1 or 2 of the years, because it was meant to go ahead last year, but the organisers couldn't pull it off. So here we are in 2019 with this coming.
But Jann, Peter, this lady has been the member for 6 years. She knows every street, almost every person in the electorate. I just ask you again, Jann, so no consultation with you, no consultation with the local businesses. What about someone watching us here who has already decided to be married on Kirra or Coolangatta or somewhere? What about people who have already bought holidays? What's going to happen to these people?
Well, a major concern that's coming through my office and going to other leaders in our business is stories like that. A bride who booked her wedding in October last year, and the happiest day of her life, it's all organised up on Kirra Hill. She's going to have a very large stage blasting music right through her ceremony. So where she's going with that right now, I don't know. We don't know if she's looking to change her venue at this late stage. She'd have trouble. We've got small businesses who run, learn to surfs and things like that on the beach that had not been told. The way this has been handled is obnoxious, and it's an insult to the people of my community, which I've actually represented for nearly 16 years.
What I can understand, Ellen, 35,000 per day.
Per day, yeah.
At the same time, you've got schoolies up there. We know in the case in New South Wales, the 6 young people that died, there was bugger all medical resources available to them. What about the hospitals in the local area? What about the ambulance? What about the emergency?
Well, that's what Jann is saying.
What about all the bikies that are going to come, knowing that they've got a ready audience of kids that go to these music festivals who want to trade in drugs?
Yeah, but I mean, there's nowhere for them, Jann. They can't accommodate this anyway. And business is saying, well, we're going to be shut out like we were at the Gold Coast Games. Am I right in saying that early this year, the same Gold Coast Council turned down an application from a surf lifesaving representation for a beach event during International Women's Day on March 17 to celebrate 40 years of women in surfing for approximately 200 people, and it was turned down because, and I quote, "No alcohol is allowed on the beach." Is this the same Gold Coast?
Yeah, I was told, and the event's actually for next year, but they were not back in March of this year, that was declined. And I just want to pick up a bit on what Peter said. Hi, Peter. You know, this is a beautiful area. It's a very restricted area. It's a very tight precinct as far as getting in and out. So start imagining 300 or 400 buses. Start imagining, you know, the people next to the sea. The patrols, surf lifesaving patrols, will not be able to do their usual duties. They'll have to do roving patrols. People who have pre-booked and pre-book every year are going to be denied access to a public amenity, our beach. And then let's actually factor in all of those young people who don't want to buy tickets but want to listen to the music sitting outside.
Yeah, but also, Jen, what about the person who's high on drugs who gets themselves into the water and go under, and there's no life-saving facilities there, and it's 8:30, quarter to 9? I mean, the worry I have is all the unsavoury elements too. It turn up, you know, and we know it's bikie gangs, badged bikies, who push a lot of these drugs around to these young people. What about when they all roll into town?
Yeah, and Jan, heat, it's December 1. Heat, drugs...
dehydration, plus.
Heat, drugs, loud music and mobs of people. What a cocktail.
Yeah, it is. And if I can just address that point that Peter made, they are going to fence the people from between the sand and the water until the event finishes, of course. What they're going to do about stopping people wandering around after and getting access, I don't know. I do know that our local police are very concerned about the extra resources that will be required. But I guess my real concern is the fact that, once again, we have a decision that's been made with no consultation with the people who pay their rates and taxes and the businesses. And that's why I'm going to write to everybody in my postcode and actually ask them to consider a charter of community rights. Now,
okay. Jan, just final thing then. We're not far away. I mean, we're August. Where do we go from here? This is December, November 30. Where do we go from here? Is anyone in government listening to you? Kate Jones, Anastasia Palaszczuk, Jackie Trad? Where's your leader, Frecklington? I mean, why aren't these people jumping up and down?
Well, I'll certainly be asking some questions, particularly when Parliament resumes in a couple of weeks, about this and about how long, you know, this decision's been made and some of the other more pointy things. We have a lot of issues that really do need to be thought through properly.
Amazing.
And the fact that we're only 4 months out, Alan and Peter, you know, it's coming towards us. What about the noise? It's going to be pumping for 2 or 3 kilometres.
Yeah,
so, you know, you won't be able to open.
Where are the greenies? Those same protesters that are shutting down Brisbane, why aren't they down there having a go at the fact that people will be, 35,000 people will be climbing all over sand dunes?
It's a great expression that Jan just used. Pumping out noise.
And the World Surfing Reserve. I mean, but what does a World Surfing Reserve mean if it isn't going to protect our beaches?
It's a World Surfing Reserve. Amazing.
Yes.
Pumping out noise. Jan, we'll keep in touch. Something's got to give here. Good on you. A wonderful local member, and you have been for many, many years. Jan, of course, was the person who had to speak in Glasgow when the Commonwealth Games were being brought to Queensland. The Premier was Campbell Newman. What did he say to you when you had to make the speech at Glasgow?
Well, I can tell you that I wasn't going to make a mistake. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. And, you know, we did it well, but we need to learn from some of those issues. And our small business is the backbone of this country.
That's right.
And the people who live here deserve respect.
Good on you. Well done, Jan. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
That's Jann Stukey. Right. She's the member for Currumbin, which is the member for Coolangatta and Kirra and all the rest of it. I know the area backwards. It's a pretty frightening spectacle, isn't it? Gee. Whew.
where's the democracy?
Oh, don't ask me.
I just, you know, we
The police weren't consulted?
We started the night talking about abortion laws in New South Wales being rammed down people's throats and not enough consultation.
Yep.
And you go back to the same-sex marriage debate. There was a lot of criticism of Abbott when he said there should be a plebiscite. But he knew this was an issue where people would want
Let everybody
their
have a
voices
say.
heard. And, of course, because their voices were heard, we've all moved on
That's it.
and accepted the umpire's
Yes.
decision. Not this.
No,
not
just
abortion.
unbelievable.
It's
But there's
crazy.
supposed to be an opposition in Queensland, Frecklington and co. Where are they? Invisible. They obviously can't prosecute a case